Okay. Oh, I gotta turn my volume down on that shit. There we go. Now I'm on point. Come on, you fucker. There we go. My chair's being an asshole. All right. Special Valentine's Day live. Not really. I figured I'd jump on for a little bit, see what was going on Valentine's Day in the retic world. I'm guessing not a lot because we have retics and we're weird. Yeah, just an update. The Nazi admins of Retic Nation still have not let me in, so they are awful people. We're just gonna keep that going. Let's see what's going on the next gen. There's been a couple good questions posed on there. Um, I don't know if you guys are. Yeah, I wasn't up. I wasn't on Friday. I'm not typically. I'm not trying to do Fridays. The reason I'm not doing Fridays is because there's just nobody shows up, and I just had like a hour to kill here, so I figured I'd jump on. See what people are up to. In case anybody wanted to bullshit, but yeah, I was. This was Yakub's. Um. I guess Mocha Mel Aztec, amazing looking snake, and this snake represents two different qualities that I'm trying to add. That is decent back diamond count with enough separation and fall off from the back diamonds themselves, not to cause striping, and to have hold on to have black connecting black connecting from the rosettes, uh, from the back diamond rosette down to the belly scales. And everybody's been talking, hearing me run my mouth about how important that shit is. And now you get to see it. Um, you get to see why that's so important. Because it makes stuff that looks like that when you put it with morphs. So maybe now people will understand why I am constantly uh, talking about this importance of connecting black. So I don't know, and back diamond count and back diamond fall off and separation from each other. So that that is the polygenic traits that I am trying to lock in as much as possible to be able to make nice looking stuff moving forward. Um, the Super Malukus we just made, those weren't based around trying to make super crazy looking Super Malukus like I've made in the past. Those were based around trying to make a decent amount of back diamonds, sharp enough with enough fall off, uh, in a rosette shape that's not going to lead to too much striping and some black connections. So, um, we're really trying to make a baseline wild type that we can, we it can still, none of them's perfect, and there's always stuff that we can do, um, to make them look a little better. But I think Yakub's post today of that Aztec in the egg is, I think that's proof of concept of what I've been talking about, and talking about the importance of a decent back diamond count with back diamond fall off with black connecting from the diamond through the rosette the way to the belly scale, because you're getting to see the result of contrast. And the only thing that you could really add to that snake that's in that egg is, and you can't even see all of it, would be a little bit more pattern outlining that surrounds the black the whole way down. But yeah, that's really the only thing, and we're talking a couple layers thick of, scales thick of some color, and that's really just nitpicking at that point because that's pretty much the nicest retic, we've seen. At least probably that'll probably be the nicest Aztec we've seen so far or close to it. And if you were to say, okay, how could you make it better? That's really all you can do. There's really not much you can do once you get to that level. But it does demonstrate the importance of setting up an animal from a polygenic perspective to have the characteristics you need to create the contrast you need to actually make an aesthetically pleasing animal. So, the super Malukus that just hatched out, they're not super crazy aberrant back patterns. They're what they are is they're consistent. They have some pattern outlining. They got some decent thickness of black. They got some decent silver, and they got some connecting black. So, these super Malukus, this current batch, they're going to be some groundwork, you know, kind of framework for moving forward. So that's why we're doing so many locality crosses this year to really set the framework to move forward, in really creating those. I don't want to say the perfect wild type look, but the most useful because I'm always trying to make a Swiss Army knife retic. I'm always trying to make a Swiss Army knife style wild type that's just good for everything. So um so yeah, so we're getting there. There's a couple things we need to add. I mean, obviously the perfect wild type is going to be, you know, it's probably, in my opinion, it's going to have some black inside the back diamonds and a little bit more pattern outlining, but that's absolute perfect scenario. So, oh fucking time. Uh, it'll be hard to get every single secondary trait lined up the exact way you need it to get that, but we're getting closer and closer. We're getting closer and closer. So, I was happy to see what Yakube's production is making, and it's showing a proof of concept of how a couple different pattern structures and polygenic traits that create them can really create a significantly better looking animal. But yeah, so I was real happy to see that. But yeah, let's go over some shit that was on. We can go over my bullshit first. I took some ridiculous, completely unnecessary polls on next gen, so we'll see how they went over. Um, Now here was a good one. Here this poll. It's been 10 years of Garrett lying and fucking up retics. What should breeders do at this point? Snakes are getting abused via starvation. Now, if you know what the via starvation is about, I'm guessing you've seen the thing on Retic Pursuit. I can't think. I'll see if I can pull it up. Of that guy that has like that 4-year-old snake that's been feeding a mouse and a weaned rat or whatever. And I don't know. I just feel like, oh yeah, I am fucking tired. I just feel like, you know, it's just so weird to watch reach out go from, the pinnacle of the retic community, which no, he was never was in my opinion. He was always a fucking piece of shit in my opinion. But he's like quickly becoming public enemy number one because a lot of the stuff that's going on in retics on this food restriction situation, whether or not they're taking his advice. I mean, Garrett's going to end up getting accused and blamed for all of this stunted starvation style diet that people are putting their snakes on. Why the fuck can't I only see that fucking post? It's come up like 12 times every time I got on my phone. Um, I can't think of the dude's name that posted that snake, uh, but yeah. So the results of the first uh, of the poll of what should breeders do about it, 70% said start calling it out. publicly. And there was a couple other options. Deal with it privately, only got 1%. And come on Next Gen Retic podcast to discuss the issue, roundtable style, that got 30 or 29%. So 70% said call it out publicly, 29% said come on the podcast, we'll do a roundtable discussion, and one person said deal with it privately. It was probably Duran. Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm always up to have that uncomfortable discussion if anybody wants to. Let's see what I took a couple other ridiculous polls that were completely unnecessary. Let's see if we can find them. Oh, which one of the Retic Nation admins is the biggest scumbags for letting someone in the Retic Nation that publicly said they plan to do damage to the Retic industry? We got a tie. It was a tie. So the biggest scumbag award was a tie between Jake and Travis, and then there was another tie for least scumbag, which was Weston and Chris. So it was 34% and 34% for Jake and Travis, and 16% and 16% for Chris. I'm amazed anyone even voted in this. I thought I'd be the only person that voted. There was probably like, oh, there's 12 votes. Wow. That's 11 more people than I thought would actually participate in that. But nope, Jake and Travis got the came in first for the scumbag award. All right. How should breeders deal with ROR customers that get mad when we tell them the truth? This is an issue that has become a problem. So this was yeah. So end the conversation. 80% for when you try to talk, dude. And you got I don't know if people realize how mad Garrett's customers get at us breeders when they talk to us, and we're just like, fuck. You know that fucking meme of not Matt Damon. What's the other one? What's his buddy that was Batman? Ben Affleck. You know that meme of him outside, like with the face smoking a cigarette, just like, ugh. Like that's how all of us breeders feel. Like that's the face we make, at least on the inside, when we are dealing with like an ex or a current reach out customer, and genetics and size and comes, all that shit comes up. We're just like, ugh, fuck. Just fucking exhausted and annoyed, and just know it's going to be bad. So, but no, almost everybody voted for just end the conversation if people get mad, and that's kind of hard to do. It's kind of hard to do, especially if they're talking to you about purchases, or they're talking to you about starting a project or getting a project from you. It's really tough to not end up in this discussion about ethics concerning reach out reptiles, because now this person's going to be potentially buying animals from you, and you're going to give them something that's completely opposite, information that's so different from what they were told, and it automatically creates this conflict. So I mean, it's hard to end the conversation even when they get mad at you, because if if the conversation is also dealing with a potential sale, you don't want to lie, but you got to tell the truth, and then that causes a conflict. It's just a weird situation. It's a really weird situation that we're all super tired of being in. So how's everybody's Valentine's Day going? I can't imagine well if you're on here talking to me. Um, Here is another completely unnecessary poll by me. How should breeders deal with misinformed ROR customers? And 73% went with the option of explain actual general sizes. 15% got call them stupid assholes for believing Garrett, which is my personal favorite method. Um, lie to them like Garrett got 1%, so that's pretty good. Explain Garrett is lying scumbag got 1%, and coach them through it so the animal doesn't get abused or starved. That got 10%. So, but yeah, we're in such a weird place. We're in such a. Me and Spencer were talking about that earlier today. Like, Garrett is still going hard in his videos on just shitty information, and it's so weird. It's such a weird situation that all of the breeders are in now, and having to kind of respond to all this stuff. It's kind of strange. What else do we got here? Let's see. I should have. I think that might be it for my completely idiotic polls that I took. If I think it is. Um, I saw. I think it was Alex Carr asked a good question that I was hoping more people would weigh in on, but I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people that weighed in. Let me see if I can find it. All right, there's Eric posting some stuff. Where the fuck is this at? I know I saw it on here. Okay, with what you're working with right now, what is your end goal? What animal is your holy grail to make? He said, mine is 50% Philippine tribal albino. Let's see what everybody else said. All right. Maud from Gen Exotic said, long game goal is 75%. Fuck is my stream deck doing? 75% Superdorf Indo Snow Ocelot. That is definitely a long-term project. That is a triple visual recessive. So that's definitely and at 75%. So that's one in. Well, I guess there might be some quicker ways. No, that's gonna take a long time. I said the universal wild type that can be used for any morph or locality cross. Brian Carlson, 30 or not, yeah, 30, 93.75 Calico high white pods and 93.75 GC cows. And and Dax went with more durable and nicer t-shirts. So that's definitely the easiest to accomplish. But yeah, I mean Brian with high white pods at 90 93. What is that? That's 50 75 87.5 93.75. So that's four breedings to get there. That's a long time. And on Jen's option, those triple visuals, they're only 1 in 64 odds of hitting a triple visual. So that's kind of rough. That is definitely kind of rough. All right, so what do we got here? If they have the feeding mentality from ROR, I don't want them having my snakes anyway. Yeah, probably not. House cleaning for tomorrow's party. I love break time. Went to Ohio and got a Pepsi fridge to use as an incubator. That's pretty sweet Valentine's Day. It's better than spending it on fucking out at a restaurant buying chocolates and flowers and stupid shit. Another 3 hours left of my shift making stupid heart eye mask. Oh, there you go. Okay, here we go. I feel like we run across the same shitty misinformation issues time and time again. More contradicting content, aka true info, needs to be pushed and made. I'm so sick of it. Okay, my breeder requires pics of my enclosure setups before shipping. I certainly felt the pressure to have my stuff in order and got a great snake with a chill temperament as a result. Well, what did you get? What snake did you get? Yeah, and as for Spencer, on the misinformation front, yeah, it's getting kind of hard. It's getting kind of hard to even talk about that because people are just getting more and more. Why is there a motherfucking? Why is there an ad? I'm on Facebook, fucking Facebook, YouTube, reading these comments instead of reading them through Riverside, and I just got a commercial. Like, why is there a commercial? It's fucking stupid. Um, So yeah, I really think I think it's getting harder to even have that conversation. And Joe tried to have that conversation with his post today, and um, with Joe being so close to reach out, I don't want to say he got attacked, but um, I mean, Garrett won't show his face anywhere. You know, and I think that kind of leaves ex ROR um, employees kind of as like the social media punching bag because Garrett won't go out there anymore. Analyze the ROR recommendation feeding info I dropped in the comments on your poll. All right, hold on. We're gonna go. Now, Duran, before I read this, I will say Garrett has a weird way of putting out good and bad information simultaneously in a way to specifically drive people towards thinking a certain way without actually saying it so he can make the claim that he never said that. And I'll give you a good example of when he did this. When he was trying to trick everybody, which he did trick everybody into thinking that females the size of the female is going to be what determines the size of her the adult size of her offspring. Um, he used an example, which was a true example of showing how much larger a hatchling is that comes from a male superdwarf to female mainland breeding versus a male mainland to female superdwarf breeding. And he uses this compare. I mean, then they're like night and day because like one's like this big and one's fucking 2.5 feet. So he kind of really did it in a shitty way that really misleads people. But we're gonna read this, and before I read this, all I'm gonna say is if Garrett is convincing people to feed their snakes appropriately, they will get significantly larger than he's telling people. So if the result of his instructions are yielding 4 and 5 year old super dwarfs that are nowhere near breeder size, then it's not good information. So let me see if I can find this. Because Garrett has a way of putting out good and bad information simultaneously. I will give him that. Okay, 10 years. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. A good rule of thumb is to offer prey items that are roughly 1 to 1.5 times the girth of the midsection of the animal. Another way to gauge if the prey item are appropriate is that they leave an easily noticeable bump after taken first day and is still noticeable the second day but gone by the third day. I will call 100% bullshit on that, Duran. If that shit is digesting that fast, that is not. If you truly give a retic a meal that is 1.5 the diameter of their thickest part, it will not be gone by day 3. And that's the piece. See, this is the piece where he sticks it right in your asshole. Because he tells you to give it 1 to 1.5, but he also tells you that if it's not gone by the third day, then it was too big of a meal. And right there is what he's doing. See, right there is the inconsistency with telling somebody to give something 1.5 the size of the diameter. So, you know, I can't, I cannot take him serious on anything at all. At all. So, yeah, I don't know. Feed your snake a big meal. It's not gone in 3 days. It's not gone at all in 3 days. That's just another one of his little tricks that he does. And and I can also tell you that the way he tells people to feed is also in a way to keep them from breeding. And he's just flat out telling people not to breed now. Watches one of his newer videos, like why your whatever can't breed retics or whatever. Like he's basically trying to talk people out of breeding because he doesn't want to have to. The truth is he doesn't want to have to compete with them. Is that my is this phone making noises or is that another one? One of my phones is making noises. I don't know which one. Um. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't fall for his shit anymore. That's for sure. Okay. Ads on lives are insane. 68.75 Calatoa, Pawshead albino slash anery. Uh, comes from 11-foot female, 8 years old. The male was actually a phantom tiger from ROR at reported 62.5 Calatoa. Well, those are some pretty decent. Those are some pretty decent numbers. Um, Calatoa, Pawshead albino anery. Hold on. From a 11-foot female at a well, what exactly was the female? Yeah, what is the what's the 11-foot female? Yeah, the that personally feel touchy. He puts on it. If that's personal, Philly touch he puts on it, gives the push, the hunger further. LOL. Yeah. I only started to notice just behavioral changes at day 3, maybe 4 before she starts even moving around unreal. The turn 8 minute now, I posted it, the photos of after their meal are still looking about the same at 3 days after those meals. Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, if you really give something 1.5 times the diameter, that's actually a bigger meal than people realize. That's if something's 12 inches around, 1.5 is 16 inches. Or if something's 12 inches in diameter, 1.5 is 16 inches, or 18 inches in diameter. That's a much bigger. That's a much bigger circumference because he's saying diameter, or is he saying diameter or round? Hold on, I don't want to fuck this up. I'll never live that fucking down. Um, hold on, hold on. Let me find it. Even if he's saying circumference, I mean it's 1.5 larger circumference is still noticeably bigger. Why is there a motherfucking Are you guys right now getting a fucking ad? This is bullshit. How do I get ads off this shit? All right. Here it is. Girth. Yeah. Yeah, I get yeah, so girth would be technically circumference. But even at daily, don't fuck with stuff. Even at 1.5, I mean that's still a pretty decent sized mill that shouldn't really be gone or unnoticeable by day 3. So I just don't trust this kind of, I don't know. He says one thing and then he tells you what to expect, what the results should be, and then the results, if you don't get that, then you know you're feeding your snakes too big of prey items. So, which is going to cause people to back off on prey size. So, okay, where are we at? Where's my cursor? There we go. Yeah, that's weird. That, I mean, it allows me to skip the shit pretty easily, but um, I don't know. It's still weird. It's still weird. I maybe it's because I turned monetization on. Wonder if that's why it's doing it. Which reminds me, I have to go plug in a number because YouTube owes me $70. So I'm excited. I'll try not to spend it all in one place. Yeah. So, yeah, what the hell else was going on? Yeah, I was hoping more. Yeah, if you guys have an ultimate goal with your production, post that on Alex Carr's question. I'm really interested to see what people's goals are. Um, I'm really interested to see what people's goals are. Because I have a really strange goal of making a kind of a universal wild type look that can make anything look better, can improve anything, or at least not make stuff look worse. So I'm really curious to hear what everybody else is. I guess if I was doing morph combo, um, I don't even know what I'd do. Because I don't even know what's gonna look the best. Maybe maybe like if you put Ocelot with Aztec and put some Tiger in there, and then Mocha, and then threw Bacan on it to thin out some of the black. That might be a neat snake. That might be my ultimate gene stack inbred fucking retic. But my actual one is definitely a universal wild type. So we're getting close to it. We're getting real close to a universal wild type. What do we got here? Oh, I never got the card details view on that of the mother. Not sure if maybe some genes kept on the low since it was sold as pet only. I don't know. I'd reach out. I'd reach out, figure it out. Yes, it is 100%. Okay, 75% and above Halma to everything. Yeah, I mean it'll be easy getting 75% Halma to a lot of stuff. That, I mean the recessive stuff's going to be difficult, but the tigers, all that codom shit. It's not or dominant technically. Um, that's not going to be too hard, man. That's like because if you can hatch out a platinum Halma, get a male, feed the shit out of it, you can breed it the next season. So in 2 years from in a year and a half basically, or just a year from your first hatch of it, you can be at that 75% mark. Um, I have some 75% female ternate morph stuff that should be ready to go this season, and I'm probably going to shoot for some 87.5 stuff just to get it up there. Because I mean, um, if I have 87.5% platies and tigers and that kind of stuff, I mean, I mean, there's not going to be any reason to buy a regular ass mainland tiger or platy for a breeding project. There is if you just want a pet, but if you're looking for a breeding project to tighten up your super dwarf production, there's once we're at 87.5% on some of these localities, there's just no point in spend the extra money and roll into your your Superdwarf projects with morphs that are only bringing 12.5% mainland blood to the table. You know, in one breeding, now it's down to 6.25. You know, and before it was you had to breed a Superdwarf, you know, do all this Superdwarf mainland shit, and you're rolling 50% out the gate of mainland, and we're seeing the problem of that too right now with, you know, that dude posted that like 14 foot or whatever, that 12 foot, 55 pounds, 50% Superdwarf, whatever percent jam, and you know it's just all that mainland blood that's still allowing them to get so large, you know, and especially that's the other problem with the size bullshit coming out of Reach Out. If you breed a 50%er to a 50%er, you're going to have all kinds of different sizes for adult size, because I know I've talked about this before, but you're giving, when you breed a Superdwarf to a mainland, you're not giving the mainland genetics anything to line up with to make big genetics. But when you breed a 50-50 to a 50-50, you're giving mainland genetics opportunity to line up with other mainland genetics. So that's why really 75% needs to be the new standard. So you're reducing, you know, you're reducing significantly the opportunity of mainland genetics to line up. Um, and and I understand that we need to do some 50 breedings to each other to get some visuals and stuff, but those animals need to immediately be taken back to pures, you know. And I think that's one of the big things that I've seen the Superdwarf community really fuck up on. And that was like, all right, we got the 50, we got the 62, let's start pumping them out. So there's all this 50 breedings and 50-62 breedings and all of this shit going on. It's like, well, you're going to end up producing some big ass snakes just by luck of the draw of genetic lineup, you know? So yeah, I really think that as soon as you get to the 50% visual on any morph with Superdwarf, that the next step is automatically to run it back into Superdwarfs. So I just I don't see any way around that if we want to curb some of the sizes that we're seeing some of these Superdwarf crosses get. And as the Superdwarf crosses, as people keep coming out with like, oh, here's my fucking snake that was only supposed to get 9 feet and it's fucking 14, like all of that does is hurt the credibility of every breeder, you know. And fuckface Garrett is supposed to be the gold standard, and you know his snakes are going to start getting large. And I'll tell you some snakes that are going to get very large from Garrett, and it's his F2 goat line. Those snakes, they have Sola blood coming from both sides. Do not, first of all, Bantayang is not a goddamn dwarf of any sort. And that's where he's like, oh, it's a Sola, but it's part of Saputrii. Well, let me tell you something about Saputrii. Saputrii is a taxonomy fucking derived subspecies that wasn't based on genetic testing, because if it was, genetic testing would tell you that the new subspecies or new species starts with Sulawesi Island. You don't pick a peninsula and a small island off of Sula to start to look for the new subspecies. It's clearly where the Wallace line splits Borneo and Sula. You clearly get a new type of retic. And then you got all this shit that branched off from Sula down to Slayer, and then it seems like the Superdwarf stuff are all just washed out colors of Lesser Sundas. But you know, and I think, and that's one of those little things that Garrett does. Well, it's Saputrii, and Saputrii are dwarf. And fucking ask anybody in fucking Sulawesi if fucking Bantayang Solas are dwarf. Bantayang is right beside Makassar. Here, I'm gonna pull up a motherfucking map. They are very close to each other. Hold on, we're getting out the map. Makassar. Come on, map, motherfucker. All right, let me see if I can. Okay, and Makassar is just this little Okay, Makassar is just this little ass. It's right there. Little ass port town area on the south west side of the southwest side of Sulawesi. It's just this little peninsula. Okay. I don't even see Bantaeng on here. Bantaeng's on the. I know it's on the other side. Well, there's Pim Rang and Pari Pari. I forgot which side Pari Pari was on. Come on. Come on. Where's it at? I gotta bring the map back up. Hold on. Sulawesi. I think I spelled Bantaeng wrong. Nope, I nailed it. Okay. All right. This map sucks dick. Hold on, I'm getting a better map so you can see it. Okay, images. That is not a better map. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see it, but this little... Hold on. Motherfucker. Turn the shit down. Hold on. Okay. That little red square, that's Bantaeng. Makassar's right there. Bantaeng, Makassar. Now, you're not telling me Makassars are known to get pretty decent size. This whole region is known to get pretty decent size. So don't tell me that because they came out of this one little section of Sulawesi, that they're magically small, just like Garrett needs them to be, so he can fucking trick everybody into thinking, they're dwarfs. But that's what he does. He'd be like, oh, they're Bantaeng Solas, and they're part of Saputrii, and Saputrii is a dwarf. Well, it was all based on taxonomy. There was no genetics done, and clearly, Sulawesi, the main big island, is where the new retic species slash subspecies starts, and all the satellite islands are going to be offshoots of either a subspecies or what I think should be actually a separate species. So I don't remember where the fuck I was going with this, but yeah, the whole point was that the goat line, because Garrett bred to 50% Solas to 50% Solas, they're not going to just get an even amount of super dwarf and Sola blood. Some of them are going to get significantly more Sola blood, and I don't care how Saputrii they are. They're not fucking smaller. They're just because a lot of the retics on Sola are just like normal size mainlands. They're not fucking people eater. There's only a handful of like man eaters in that whole area. So it's not. Those snakes are going to get fucking big. Some of those snakes are going to get really fucking big. And I think that's a situation where, once again, ROR putting out this misinformation in a weird form, because you can lie to somebody and tell them two true things. You can tell somebody that your snake is 50% Bantaeng and is considered Saputrii, and Saputrii is considered a dwarf. Okay. But here's where the problem runs into. They were never really labeled as dwarfs. That whole dwarf shit, try to find anything in that 2002 paper that classifies Saputrii as an actual dwarf. Now, we know the Tambalongans are staying relatively small, and we know the Salayers, they don't get too big, but they're heavy bodied, so they weigh quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, and that's just this whole misconception and just kind of twisting for the sales pitch, and that's where those goat lines. I mean, that's really gonna bite him in the ass. There's a couple things that are gonna really come back to hit ROR hard, and the 6.12 wild caught Kalatoa story, that one's gonna hit him hard. When some of these goat line snakes get fed these F2s and get really big, that's gonna, that's gonna come back. Um, the whole ball python are bigger than carampas. I mean, that's already doing damage. So yeah, no, Makassar is just like, Makassar is just a region in the southwest, on the southwest peninsula of Sulawesi, and so is Bantaeng. They're like 10 feet apart. So, but how Garrett has marketed Bantayangs, which there was only ever 10 recorded Bantayangs that came into the country. And those were it was the group of 10 that I got. Now I did I think there's only 2.1 still alive. I lost track of the one male. I forget where the hell it was at. And I still remember that. I still remember the male I lost track of because it had a really weird pattern. It didn't have a, it was very uncommon for a Sulawesi. It was a very unique pattern. Yeah, come on, brother. They're dwarfs because the people aren't as big. Yeah. Yeah, there's no indication. The only dwarf python on Sulawesi is Progshy, the dwarf berm. That's it. Yeah, it's like 30 miles. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing's just a region. That's part of why I made the interactive map, just to make it easier to visualize the localities and sizes. Yeah, I'm glad you made that map. We that's something that's actually super helpful. So, I don't know. Hey, what do you guys think I should do? You think I should still keep acting like a child until they let me into Retic Nation, or you think I should just give up on that? And hold on, I gotta read this. Um, you think I was actually really disappointed to see that Retic Nation allowed that Brian Whitehead in. Am I just being a fucking asshole, or I mean, should that dude be allowed at the table? I mean, with what he's done, what he said, and what he says he plans to do. I mean, should he really be allowed at the table at this point? I mean, I know I got a bias against him, but you guys can keep me honest here. I mean, should I just think it's crazy that, and I was actually disappointed. I haven't tried to get back into the Retic Nation for a very long time because it's always been such a hypocritical shit show of dick riders sucking the cocks of the worst people in retics. And I thought it actually kind of cleaned up its bullshit a little bit, but to see them welcome someone like Brian with open arms, I was like, man, is anything really changed on there? I mean, is it just the same? Is it the same safe haven for every scumbag in retics? You know? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just wondering if Retic Nation. Here's the other thing. It's the other thing I'm thinking about. If Retic Nation isn't gonna evolve and kind of grow with the industry, I don't know if it's really worth being me even trying to be in it, because if it's not going to grow with the industry, what's I mean, yeah, I just yeah, I don't care about how things used to be done in 2012. You know what I mean? I didn't like 2012 retic breeding in 2012. I certainly don't like 2012 retic breeding in 2026. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I actually thought Retic Nation was kind of turning itself around, but since I've been in the Retic Pursuit is just crushing the shit out of the Retic Nation, just crushing it. Significantly more people, uh, better conversations because you're not censored as fuck like you are in Retic Nation. Um, I don't see, I mean, I don't see Brian Whitehead in there posting, posting bullshit. I think they actually threw Bob out. Um, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, Retic Pursuit is definitely. definitely the biggest retic group, and it's got a lot of interaction and engagement. Yeah, he shouldn't be in any retic groups. No, he shouldn't. And that's the thing. And that's the thing. Like, and this is the thing that irritates me about the retic nation. You got four admins who haven't come close to making the contribution to retics that I have. You can put them all together, and they don't come fucking close. And if they would like to debate that, if they would like to debate their contributions versus mine to retics, I will gladly debate it. They can come on here and we can debate it right now. But they're also not really trying to do anything to push retics forward, and that retic nation has always been the place where it was okay if you were mass producing, if it was okay if you were abusing your animals, it was okay if you were lying about genetics, it was okay if you're making up bullshit stories about where your morphs came from and pretending they were dwarfs. That shit's always been okay, you know. And they all backed Aubrey when Aubrey was going to get all my localities and he was going to destroy me. Well, that didn't work because Aubrey has no idea how to selectively breed, and that's proven by the fact that his ocelots aren't half as nice now as they used to be, because he doesn't understand how to keep the parts, the traits that he needs in there to keep progressing them forward. That's why they keep going backwards. And that again is that the whole retic nation mindset of 2012 breeding of we'll just throw a gene on top of a gene on top of a gene and it'll be amazing. And it's to the point that they even hatch out stuff that looks absolutely awful, and then they're just like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And it's like, no, it's actually pretty bad looking. You know, it's actually pretty bad looking. And maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you need to go back and look at your older production that was really nice and figure out what you need to do to replicate that. But I mean, even with my stuff, Aubrey has been able to make little headway in his production. It's not an attack; it's just an observation. So, well, I don't think it matters if they can't directly interact with your shit posting. My shit posting is amazing. They are blocked. No, I didn't. I didn't actually block them from next gen. I didn't block them. I just threw them out. And the reason I threw them out is because they're still welcome there. See, this is actually, and I want to be completely transparent, this is a business situation. When you're a retic breeder, or if you're any other type of business, there are platforms that you are allowed to interact with people and potentially work out business. And that's what that's what retic platforms are. They're a place for everybody to hang out. They're a place for a community, but they're also a place to promote and interact and market. Whether anybody likes it or not, it gives us, if we have anything for sale or anything we're looking to market, these platforms give us an opportunity to do that. And I have let for the last 10 years, I've let all of these people in on Retic Eugenics, Retic Alliance, and now NextGen. And I have not pushed the issue of them letting me back into the cool kids club of the Retic Nation. And I thought Retic Nation was kind of on a correcting course. And since I've played nice long enough, and I've always let them for the last 10 years, I have let them promote their shit on my platforms. And that's what it comes down to. And and that's why everyone's like, well, you shouldn't say things about people's wife, and I shouldn't say 95% of the things I say. That's not the point. My point is this is a business to business situation. You know what I mean? Like this is a business to business kind of courtesy that you're welcome on my platform to interact, engage, promote. I should be welcome on your platform to to interact, engage, and promote. And that's what it comes down to. Because I don't care about whose feelings I've hurt. I don't care who finds me offensive. I don't care how wrong they think I am for anything. I don't care. Like, don't you don't need to try to rationalize with me because I don't care. You know, it's I don't I don't think I don't think I'm right. It's that I don't care that I'm wrong. And you can't reason with that. But all of that aside, professional courtesy. That's what it needs to be. And they just don't want to do that. You know, they don't want to do that. They're just clinging on so tight to the Retic Nation because I think it's all they have left. You know, they haven't really contributed to Retics at all. Um, and I'm one of the larger contributors to Retics. You know, and it's like, well, why? You know, and it's whatever. But like I said, the sad thing is, you know, Retic Nation's been around a very long time. Before it was even a Facebook group, it was actually a website. It was like an interactive like website situation. And then they took it over to because Facebook blew up and I think it was actually Shane and Jake or somebody or I don't know. They actually put together the Retic Nation Facebook group and then that just exploded. Um, but yeah, I mean to see how daily don't do that to see how Retic Pursuit is passing them up in you know just in gigantic growth and with traffic and engagement it's been kind of crazy. So um, you know whether I get back on there or not, I really think that um, I really think that Retic Nation, if it doesn't change course, it's just going to completely fade out. LOL, I'll bet you 100 that acting like a child won't get you in. You don't want to take that bet. You do not want to take that bet because I have found that the more ridiculous I act, the more I get what I want. Um, I found memes, personal attacks, inappropriate things that I'm saying. I found that they all work, and it's always worked for me. And you know who else it's worked for? Donald Trump. He got to be the president by acting like an asshole, and I've got to a lot of places in retics by being being a complete idiot. And I really think I think if I went at all of them hard enough that I just annoyed them to the point like a little kid that they would just let me in. I think I could win that $100 bet. But it would take a ton of energy and time, so I probably won't take it for 100. I'd probably do it for 1,000. But you got to remember, if I do this, it's just gonna. I'll go after them like I used to go after Garrett. So it'll be like this ridiculous chaos, you know. And I probably shouldn't do that, to be honest. Hold on, we gotta fucking. What the fuck is this? Um. Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm hopefully they can kind of get it together and go from there. As a pedestrian, I only use Pursuit. Well, check out Next Gen. Next Gen Retic Pursuit is more of a generalized Retic group, where Next Gen Retics that's a group based on selective breeding, responsible breeding, aesthetics, polygenics. It's a it's more of it's a small group. There's less than 1,000 people in it, and it's really based around pushing forward how retics are bred. You know, I mean, and it's a completely different group than Retic Pursuit because Retic Pursuit, like I said, is more of a generalized Retic group where Next Gen is very specific in its intent. You know, it's to push a new style and standard of captive reproduction. So what do we got here? They should hold on. Where are we at? They should probably get Tyrese negative ass out of there before worrying about keeping you out. I actually just unblocked Tyree. I had Tyree blocked for years, and he's one of the admins on Retic Pursuit. So I just unblocked him. So if he needs we need to interact on Retic Pursuit, we could. Or if he needs to approve my posts, he could. He does bring that glass half empty energy to the table, though, doesn't he? I mean, I think he needs some positivity lessons from Duran. I think that would help out. I think that Duran, that needs to be your new target. It needs to be old Tyree. Let's get him on the glass half full train. So, oh man, here's me keeping you honest. Your statement that publicly stated he intended to do harm to the retic industry is not what he said, and interpretation of what he no, that's what he said. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can find this. Intentionality can be implied and legally inferred. So I stand by my statement, and we're gonna go find this. We're gonna find this. Maybe because I have so much bullshit on my phone. All right. Hey man, all I have to say is fuck you and you're an idiot. I had no real interest in stupid Halmaharas and Ternate project. I have high percentage animals of both, which is a lie because there's only pure Halmas and a handful of 50 percenters, but wasn't really planning much with them. Now I'm going out of my way to pick some pures of each. I hope you're confident that none of your customers you've sold your pures to will let them go for 20K. I told them I'd hook them up. Anyway, you're a clown. I'll go out of my way to fuck up your projects in any way I can now. Now, that is 100% saying he's going to do damage to the retic industry because the only snakes in retics that are stable in prices are my localities. So he's to fuck up my stuff would mean he is going to destabilize my animals, which will do damage. I can make that inference, and that shit would hold up in court. 100%. Could his actions do harm? Yes. Did he say he wanted to do damage? No. Yes, he did right here. I'm going to go out of my way anyway to fuck up your stuff that I can. I got it in writing, buddy. I got it in writing. So, yep, he said that. And Aubrey said that too, and the motherfuckers cheered him on. Jen from Odd Exotics cheered him on. That's why Jen has me blocked, because I sent her a fucking message about it when I saw her cheering that shit on. That's how fucking stupid these people are in this industry. They were like, oh, we're going to fuck up Rodney shit. Yeah, that's smart. Fuck up the last stable part of the retic industry and fuck with the person that's been trying for 20 years to make it better. And we're finally getting there. We're finally to the point that nobody wants this overproduction shit. Nobody wants this run-of-the-mill shit. Everybody wants good-looking snakes that stay a manageable size and have a reasonable price tag. That's worth it for the breeder and worth it for the person buying as a pet or investing in as a future breeder. So yes, Ryan Whitehead is definitely saying he was going to do damage, and like usual, the Retic Nation was like, "Oh, you want to be a shitty human being? Come on in. That's what we're here for." So, all right, where are we at? Did he admit to wanting to hurt your business? Yeah, which I just read that. Is that the entire retic industry? No, but you have to remember, my section of the retic industry is the only stable section, and it's the only section that people are investing in from a standpoint that's not of the same standpoint of scarcity, because the morph and all that shit, that's all based on scarcity, a value of scarcity, where my stuff is based on a value of adding aesthetic value. My stuff comes into the is in the market, and it's selling because it brings something to the table. It adds to the value. Where all this morph shit, it can only lose value. My stuff can actually add value. And there's only a couple things, dude. These fucking commercials. I better be making a ton of fucking money if we all have to watch commercials. Um, the only things There's only a handful of retics that are actually bringing value. Um, is and those are super dwarfs that are making them smaller, and localities that are making them look better. So, and my snakes make them a little bit smaller and make everything look significantly better. So to do damage to me is to do damage to the entire industry, because of how many people are working with my stuff and what my stuff is doing, which is adding value back to these animals. So yeah. And I mean, I'm sure he doesn't know. I mean, he thought the guy's a fucking idiot. Let's face it. He thought F1s were wild cards. So, I mean, it's not like he's done any research or he understands anything, but he's not looking to understand anything. The guy just wants to pump and dump. That's what he does. We watched it on the short bus breakdown videos. He's went from species to species to species. Oh, I've shipped thousands of these dart frogs and blah blah blah. And that's what he does. He tries to suck money out of sectors of the reptile industry, and once he thinks the money's gone, he moves on to another section. You know, he moves on to another aspect, another part of the industry. I mean, the guy, he's not just a threat to retics. He's a threat to reptiles. I consider that dude an actual threat to reptiles in general, to be honest. P.S. I don't agree with any of the things he's doing. He's actually doing. No, I don't think anybody does, with the exception of Lucas, who it's looking like Lucas actually sold him the Halmas. And if we ever get a picture of them, we'll be able to prove it, because I made sure I got pictures of both the back patterns of both of Lucas's Halmas. You know, then I see Lucas on the triple threat. Just I couldn't even watch it. I was like, dude, like, really? This is how you're gonna act now? Okay. What do we got here? I need to go back and see who had that sick ocelot tiger, blew my mind. Yeah, there's been a couple. And that's the thing with that's the thing with the polygenic aspect of ocelot tigers. I mean, you got the wrong set of secondary traits, and you're getting a striped out animal. You're getting something with a more of a classic pattern. It's one of the best looking retics ever produced. You know, that's what's so crazy about these secondary traits, is that, you know, the right secondary traits make something that looks absolutely phenomenal, and the wrong secondary traits makes something that looks like fucking trash. So I mean, and there's not a better example of that than Aztec. Aztec is the gold standard for demonstrating the importance of secondary traits. How Jake become an admin is the real question. No, he's been around for a while. I don't know when Jake became an admin. Probably like 15 years ago. I think he's pretty much always been an admin. I think it was him and Shane that started the Facebook version. I've never seen him say anything positive. I'm guessing you're talking about Tyree. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him say anything positive either. Imagine trying to defend a loser like Ryan. I'm not sure who that is. Or do you mean Brian? Okay. Sounds like 3D printers on Etsy make flexi dragons until market saturation, then move on to the next trend. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what he's doing. Messing with someone's business because of some petty shit is such a bottom feeder move. Well, you know, and yeah, it is. You know, Aubrey was held as a hero when he said he was going to do it. Now Aubrey's to the point that realizes if he wants to make better looking stuff, he has to breed it to my shit. Which is the irony of all of this. Which is the main irony of fucking the situation Garrett's in. I don't think Garrett can even consider using Mindanao, Ternate, or Halma. And if I mean, he would look so bad if he did, and those are the three things that he needs to start using, and he just can't use it, which is fucked up. Yeah, it's really fucked up. All right. Well, is there any topics you guys want to hit on this amazing Valentine's Day? Or are we good? So I'm going to go get something to eat, and then I'm going to call it, and then I got to get up tomorrow and clean more cages. That is my weekend. That is my weekend, is cleaning cages. Epstein, dude, I can't get into Epstein tonight. I can't get into Epstein. I've been following that for 20 years. Here's what I will say about Epstein. Here's the scary thing about the Epstein situation. I said a long time ago, I don't think he died. I think that was all fake. And everyone's like, bring the people, we need justice. We need justice for the people that are in those files. Well, here's the thing. Those people that are in those files, they're still doing their jobs, whatever their jobs were, whether it was government, corporations, starting wars, whatever. If you're into that kind of stuff that they're into, the PDF file, we'll call it that, killing and eating like kids, that's like weird, crazy fetish stuff. All right. And here's the scary part about this. If a drug addict's drug dealer gets arrested, the drug addict goes and finds another drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? So all the people that were doing all these horrible things in those Epstein files, no one's talking about the fact that they didn't stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? They're still doing that. So that, to me, there's this whole set of questions that aren't getting asked. Is everyone's like, well, name them and arrest them. Well, who's their supplier for this stuff now? You know what I mean? Because, like, if the person you buy weed from gets arrested, you go find a new person to buy weed from. If the person you buy your kids from to ritualistically sacrifice gets arrested, or his operation gets shut down, you go find another person who to buy kids from. And that's what, and it was so weird to see that Epstein got popped, and they probably faked his death and got him probably to Israel or somewhere in the Middle East. And then Biden's open border policy led to the largest human trafficking smuggling operation in our country's history. And there's what, almost 500,000 missing kids right now. It's like everyone's like, well, what's the names? It's like, well, what about the fact that those names are people still doing their jobs and still doing all this stuff? Because what's the chances they stopped? Do you eat a baby one day and be like, you know what? It was cool. Ate a few babies, but I don't think I'm going to eat babies anymore. Something tells me, like, once you get to that level of eating children, you're not stopping. You know what I mean? It's like you're just going to keep eating children. Yeah, is it over 500,000? Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of people. It's been a minute, but Tim crashed out over politics, shutting down Intrepid Exotics was something which made no sense. And like he like took a shot at Aubrey at it or something, and Aubrey was willing to like help Tim like educate people. And Tim, I think Tim might have like some mental stuff going on from, I think he was in the military or something. But he seemed like he went so he I think he might have got Trump derangement syndrome and then just kind of like shut down, because if you're constantly surrounding yourself with ideas of negativity and hatred and everything is awful, I mean, eventually it's going to take an impact on your mental health and your quality of life. And I remember somebody sent me this weird post of like Aubrey responding to Tim over that, and he was like, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought we were doing education and we're not talking politics. I don't know. I just and here's I'll say something else about this whole Epstein shit. Um, you know, I I don't understand why the left is taking trying to take a victory lap like they got Trump. It's like Trump has not handled this well. Trump was the first person to call the police on Epstein, first like rich person. He got arrested under Trump, and we actually got Epstein files released under Trump. We didn't get Epstein files released under the Clintons because they were working together. We didn't get Epstein files released under Obama because they were working together. He gets arrested under Trump. Um, Democrats don't want to touch this through the whole Trump stuff, through the whole Biden stuff, and then they think they have like this big gotcha on Trump now, and it's like the left has intentionally ignored this, lied about it, you know, especially the left media that did everything they could to discredit things like Pizzagate. And it's absolutely insane that they think like they're acting like they're taking a victory lap. Like, and all the anti-Trump people are like, "Yeah, arrest Trump, arrest Trump." I'm like, he worked with the Clintons, and he at least worked with some of the staffers in Obama. Like, are you insane? Like, oh, we got Trump this time. It's like, no, dude. Like, you like this is the upper echelon of psychopaths, and I think what they're really up to is I think they're, and I hate to say this, but like all the like creepy stuff, like the kid stuff, eating babies, satanic stuff, I think that's just the top layer of what's really going on here. I think it's more of a genetic modification. I think they're shooting for immortality. If I had to guess, that's probably what they're doing. They can just do whatever they want, so they eat babies. But I'm gonna say this is a very deep eugenics, genetic modification, immortality type thing that they're going for. If I had to guess, um, I don't have any evidence of that, but if I had to guess, I'm gonna say that's actually what these people are. Because I mean, that's like the ultimate control, right? Because that's what this like everything's about, kind of controlling the situation, and the ultimate control is to conquer death. So I think that's what they're doing. So I don't know. Conspiracy theory wise, I'm gonna say people need to realize there's a whole different history of this world that's been kept from us, and we're not going to be able to understand a whole lot until we find out what the true history of this planet is. So, and I guarantee it's way weirder than any of us can imagine. Way, way stranger. Way. I mean, it's probably unimaginable what the true history is of this planet. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna jump off here, but yeah, we'll maybe I'll jump on tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some Epstein Epstein investigation. Um, see what we can pull up. But yeah, there was a Whitney Webb. She wrote One Nation Under Blackmail. There's two books. I think she's coming. She's probably the most educated on all of this. Just the history of using this type of stuff for blackmail. She's supposed to, they're working on getting her on Rogan soon, and there was an old book uh, that was like it was very somebody was very similar to Jeffrey Epstein back in the 80s. It's called the Franklin Project. Check that out. They were because they were running kids. They were running kids back then too. So that all got swept under the rug. All got swept under the rug, but people aren't going to give up on this Epstein stuff, and they shouldn't because it's kind of hard to listen to take. It's kind of hard to take your government serious at all at this point. You know what I mean? It's like, why? all all you do is take our money and start wars and traffic kids. Like, why are we? Like, why isn't there a giant bloody violent revolution going on? Like, yeah, I mean, dude, it's stuff's getting weird, and yeah, but the Dow, yeah, the Dow is up up to 50,000, so that's probably why everybody's okay. So, but yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna go make something to eat. So thanks everyone for hanging out, and maybe I'll jump on tomorrow and talk some more shit. Later.